I think Sam Stein summed this up, Jill. He said, so I've had this straight. A grifter raises money to pretend that he's building a wall that was supposed to be financed by a foreign government. He then uses that money to buy things like a boat that he sails in a parade to stoke the ego of the president whose wall he was pretending to build. Yes. Yes, that is correct. That pretty much sums it up, right?
Well, yeah, although it underplays the criminality and horror of that scheme where he defrauded thousands of people of a lot of money.
Yes.
Who, of course, were stupid for contributing to a wall that Mexico was supposed to pay for.
Right.
But even still, in their minds, they were doing something that was good for the country. Yeah. I disagree completely, but
I understand that Mexico will be paying Steve Bannon's bail, though. I made that up. Okay.
It actually reminds me of a Watergate-era cartoon by the famous cartoonist from Chicago, Herb Block, who was nationally syndicated. Mm-hmm. And it's a picture of a conference table for a cabinet meeting, and Richard Nixon is sitting at the head of it, and his label is unindicted co-conspirator. And then there are empty chairs for Haldeman, Ehrlichman, Mitchell, etc. So the whole cabinet is empty except for unindicted co-conspirator Nixon.
I mean,
same thing.
Jill, everybody in this campaign is either in jail, indicted, pled guilty, you name it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love Dan Rather still bringing the funny. Jill, he said there's nothing like waking up to a nice game of Trump grifter bingo. It's so. Let me ask you a couple of things. A lot of our mutual friends, Mueller, she wrote, tweeted, our friend AG said, interesting fact, the Public Corruption Unit at SDNY is the unit investigating the We Build the Wall case that indicted Bannon. That means an elected official is involved.
Huh.
Well, interesting. Of course, we know that, as is typical of Trump when his people get indicted. I didn't know him, hardly ever had anything to do with him.
Right.
And this time he said, and I didn't approve of that plan.
Oh, yeah, wait, hang on. Let's listen to this. Just legally listen to this, Jill. Hang on one sec. Here we go.
Well, I feel very badly. I haven't been dealing with him for a long period of time, as most of the people in this room know. He was involved in our campaign. He worked for Goldman Sachs. He worked for a lot of companies, but he was involved likewise in our campaign and for a small part of the administration very early on. I haven't been dealing with him at all. I know nothing about the project other than when I read about it, I didn't like it.
Yeah, that's not what he said at the time. He apparently gave it his blessing, Jill.
So, exactly.
Yeah.
And we have quotes of that where, not verbal, not audible, rather, but that he did approve it, and that was announced as he was behind it. So probably this is one more of the, how many thousands of lies are we at now?
Right.
I've really lost count after like 4,000, but
right.
This is just, and we have to start calling them what they are. They're not Pinocchios. They're not anything else. Excuse me, sorry.
It's only you can play a xylophone while you're making a fantastic legal point.
I don't know how to it's my husband's phone, and I don't know how to turn it off.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Okay, but
you're adorable. Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay, it's done.
Okay.
At least it's not ringing. So yes, I mean, but Bannon, bad as it is, and of course he scripted his, going into court, wearing a mask, coming out to show that he was, I'm not concerned, I'm smiling. He took off his mask and was actually maskless, smiling, saying, I'm okay. I just paid a $5 million bail, but I'm okay. I mean, it's terrible. And that was only one of the many legal issues of the day. So besides him, you have the tax return decision, you have the Senate intel report.
Well, let's
get just one that isn't getting any attention. Just got to mention this.
Yeah, no, I want to get. I'm getting to all of those with you. Believe me,
okay.
But I just want to stick with Bannon for a second, Jill.
Okay,
so sorry,
sure.
But because Bannon prosecution, one of the cases Trump and Barr were trying to stop by firing Jeffrey Berman, as a lot of people have pointed out. You said even Barr couldn't stop the indictment by SDNY of Steve Bannon. What do you think? Is that because he screwed up this firing so badly that this was one thing he couldn't stop?
Yes, he tried to fire him. He announced that he was retiring, and Berman came out and said, I'm not retiring. I didn't say I was stepping down. And he forced Barr's hand. The plan was to put in a temporary person who was a U.S. attorney from elsewhere, and then to appoint a person who has absolutely no trial experience, who would be completely unqualified to be the U.S. attorney of even a small district, let alone the Southern District of New York, but who was a friend of the president and wanted to move back to New York. He was serving at the SEC in Washington. And that backfired, and as a result, the compromise was that the deputy U.S. attorney would take over. And as a result, the cases that needed to go forward, and I think cases is a word that we should pay attention to, which means Rudy Giuliani may be next.
God, stop it. This week has been too good. Just don't torture a poor girl, Jill.
And you just raised the issue that there could be an elected official currently.
What?
Okay. Jill. But okay, real quick, because I know we have so much to get to. Your friend, Glenn Kirshner said, I love that Trump is bad-mouthing Bannon, saying he was against the project and it was showboating by Bannon. Huh. Hey, Steve, I bet the SDNY prosecutors would like to know everything you know about Trump's crimes. Jill, he's facing serious jail time. I mean, what do you think? Or he's going to get a pardon, right? I mean, what are we going to see here, do you think?
Pardon is a word that shouldn't be thrown around lightly, but that's what Donald Trump does. He pardoned or commuted the sentence of, Roger Stone, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, and maybe he's one of the sheriffs that'll be used on Election Day as a poll watcher, because that's the other, one of the other bits of news was he tweeted that he was going to enforce law and order. He was going to have the sheriffs out there.
He's illegal. He can't send the police to the... Oh, my God, I can't even. I know.
No, but that's clearly voter suppression. It's just one more attempt at voter suppression.
Yeah.
So, yes, and he's talking about, of course, we don't know what will happen yet with Flynn. If his case does not get thrown out, which I don't think it will, then he's just going to have to take the political bait and he's going to have to pardon him. Although I think he can probably drag it out at this point long enough that it won't be till after the election.
As I often say, despite my reverence for you, the law is stupid. I don't understand why he's able, because you brought
people
up
who are stupid.
Yes.
But you brought up the great news that you said on Twitter. Great news. Trump appeal of the emoluments case against him denied. Case can proceed. You said hooray for the courts. Trump must turn over his tax returns to the DA. But he's going to do the same he does every time and delay. And the American people have a right to this information.
Exactly. I mean, there's no question about it. And the other case that happened this week was the case in which he's now appealing the decision of a higher court, the lower court. Judge Naomi Buchwald said, you cannot block people from your Twitter account. It is a public communications method that you have.
Right.
And he's now appealing that. It went to a higher court that confirmed it, and he's going to probably take it to the Supreme Court. He wants people not to be able to criticize him.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about dictatorship, talk about authoritarian, talk about fascism.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Yeah.
So that's and at the same time he's saying things like, well, QAnon, they like me, so I like them. I mean,
unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
Jill, let's not bury the biggest news, which you brought up. I'm so sorry. I'm a little overexcited, like a poodle on linoleum getting to talk to you again. But you said this shouldn't get lost in the excitement of Convention Week. Bipartisan agreement that Trump welcomed Russian help, that his campaign presented a counterintelligence threat to America, and still does. This Senate intelligence report could not have been more damning, right? And you said that's why it's a crime. The Republicans voted not guilty. They knew he was. I mean,
exactly.
This is signed off on by Tom Cotton and John Cornyn. I mean, Jill, just your reaction to the Senate intelligence.
Well, I'm still kind of in a state of shock that the bipartisanship of what has always been the case at the Senate Intelligence Committee has returned. And people who voted not guilty, which to me was one of the most painful moments in American history, was listening to them not say not impeachable. They had to say not guilty, even though they clearly knew that he was guilty. And now they're publishing the evidence that they clearly had at the time. And it's even more damning than the Mueller report. It lays out in much clearer detail. I don't expect people to read all 1,000 pages, but if you just read the headlines or just read one news article in a legitimate source, I'm not talking about listening to what Fox News has to say, because they will, in the same way that Barr distorted the Mueller report in announcing before he let it become public, he said, you don't have to read it. It says no collusion, no obstruction. And people accepted that, and that was the end of it. Well, that's what they're trying to do now, but honestly, the report makes it very clear that Russia intervened for Donald Trump's benefit, that Donald Trump knew and welcomed it, that there was, how could you not have a legitimate basis for the investigation?
Massive
there
collusion.
was a counterintelligence threat. So any discussion that they are now having of Obama spied on me, which was his retort, his tweet in response to the very brilliant takedown of Trump by President Obama at the convention. And every night there was something fantastic. The convention was unbelievable.
I was just going to end on that, since you're a DNC delegate and I vote blue no matter who girl like me. I was blown away by Joe Biden's speech. Of a great convention week, Jill, I just couldn't stop crying. It was amazing, wasn't it?
It was, when you talk about crying, I've never cried at a convention before.
Me neither.
I've cried afterwards when someone didn't, win, like Hillary, or like when I was in third grade, Adlai Stevenson, when he lost the election. But
you've always been a nerd. Okay.
I was crying so hard on Wednesday night that I started to record a podcast. I had to call it off. I couldn't stop crying. I was so moved. I think that there are some parts of a convention that you can't do remotely. The caucuses and council meetings fell flat. It was like being at a webinar where you were just being talked to and didn't feel participation in. But the roll call, they'll never go back to the roll call the way it used to be. The speeches, the pacing, it was like fantastic. Your interest never, ever flagged. It was phenomenal. Every speaker, if you asked me to pick a favorite from last night, oh my God, my list is way too long to pick a favorite. Obviously Joe shined. He was fantastic because he said, this is what we have to look forward to. This is who we are. He certainly locked up the senior vote, or at least anybody who was listening, because he said Donald Trump will take away Medicare and Social Security.
But I just met the moment in our history, didn't he? Because it was powerful and personal and emotional and just a call to decency, to light over dark, to love over hate. I just thought it was, I was sort of, I've never been speechless at a speech.
His character really came through his personality, and of course the lead up to it, the young man who stutters, who met him at a campaign event, and he takes the time, Biden takes the time to spend with him, to tell him how he overcame it, how this young boy could overcome it, how to parse a speech so that you could do it. And he stood up in front of millions of people and spoke and overcame. It was amazing.
No, not a dry eye in the house.
The Pledge of Allegiance by the young boy. Oh my God.
Jill, the only thing I missed is the big koala hug. I was going to, a little awkward, a little go on way too long hug I was going to give you at Chicago Sexy Liberal and the DNC. I miss you so much.
Oh, me too. And I love hearing about your social life. This is terrific.
Oh my God, wait. I know we're running long. This is the funniest thing ever. So you are the only human in the world that has not heard the John Lovett bit about I'm Morgan Fairchild, who I'm dating?
But I've now corresponded with Morgan Fairchild.
So that was, you never heard the old SNL, John Lovett's the liar character would always say, Morgan Fairchild, who I'm dating. So That's it. So I do the joke every time when Morgan tweets something nice about me or the show.
So funny.
And you are so hilarious. You're like, congratulations, you two. Oh, my God, it was so fantastic. And then Morgan Fairchild had to break up with me on Twitter because she's like, Jill.
Look what I caused. Look what I caused.
It was so precious.
Now know that you're available.
It was so precious that you were so happy for us. And then you were like, oh, okay, well, let's find her a love interest then. That's fantastic. I love you, Jill. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.
Goodbye.